Oh, hello. Welcome to Dune Book Club, everybody. We are going to be talking about today chapters 35 through 40. We're all caught up and keep hitting the table with my chair. Yeah, and we're all caught up for once. All of us are in the same place as the book. I hope everyone else is as well. Oh crap, I can hear it.
Hey, thank you.
That.
Oh, being a part of the film family.
Yay, thank you for the sub. Yeah, so we're talking. Yeah, chapters 35 through 40. I'm Danny. I realize we've never introduced ourselves on this show.
That's true. I'm Ryan.
Art's muted. Great. Well,
We couldn't hear you, Art.
And I'm Art.
There it is.
well done. Well done.
But yeah,
Well-
look at how much we've gotten through this book.
I know. It's like we're
You,
reading.
you got the weird little chubby version of the book.
Yeah, there's a wider trade.
There's a slightly taller one. It is not a scary looking thick.
Yeah.
Because it's a little wider and taller.
I have one that's like that size, but not nearly that thick, and the print is just tiny.
Yeah.
But yeah, because that was a lot too. Because I was like, oh, it doesn't look that bad, and it's like Bible thin pages. Oh God, no. All right, so we're in book 2 of the book. First book, chapter 35.
Yeah.
So this is focusing on Count Fenring and Lady Fenring, who we were loosely introduced to a while ago on Gady Prime, and now we have. So it's them visiting the Baron, and it's interesting to see like the Baron kind of like put in his place repeatedly by this dude. He's sort of been like the power that we've been introduced to so far, outside of the Emperor, who we have yet to meet. So it's Count Fenring is like the Emperor's right-hand man who goes around and just takes care of things, and dude's just fucking untouchable, right? He's like, anything happens to me, Emperor's gonna smite you.
Yeah.
So he's just like, but he's also like, it's very polite. It's such one of those like Game of Thrones-y just power play conversations where it's like they're sitting there talking, but they're playing that chess game of like, can I destroy you? Can I get away with killing you? No, fuck. Okay, I guess we'll play along.
He also, his language, the way he talks is written in such a weird, like sing-songy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you should listen to the audiobook guy, because the audiobook like sings it. He goes He like does this weird little like weird mumble thing with it.
I like it. Let's see what else happens in this one. Oh yeah, so Count mentions that the Emperor does not like the way the Baron ordered the Sardaukar off of Arrakis, because he basically is overconfident at this point. The Baron's like, I did it. The Atreides are dead. I'm in charge. Nothing to worry about. And Fenring's like, you moron.
We also get a sense of how much time has elapsed too, right?
Yeah. At this chapter, yeah. No, not yet.
Not quite.
Not
Not
when
quite.
we get to book 3, 2 years.
That's right,
will
that's
have
right.
passed. But we're like right on the cusp of that.
Yeah.
It's pretty close at that point. It is. Yeah, this is still finishing up book 2. So 38 is when it will jump to 2 years in the future. Oh yeah, the Emperor's also pissed that the Baron didn't say that he kept Thufir Hawat, because he told the Sardaukar that he had killed him.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, it's just a little white lie. I needed him in time. He's like, you idiot. There's this whole back and forth. I mean, he says it way more calmly, because Lord Fenring is not one to get excited. And this all leads into the Gladiator Challenge with Fade Rautha, which is this, again, feints within feints, plans within plans, as usual. So he's poisoned the wrong blade. The culture here is that you're supposed to have a short dagger with poison on it and a long dagger that is not poisoned, and he's swapped the poison. And he's staged this whole thing where Hawat and he worked together to paint him as this sort of like fighting hero guy. And Hawat ordered a slave who used to be an Atreides fighter. And normally the slaves are drugged when they're put into the ring to make the lords who are fighting look like they've got way more prowess. It's very bullfighty, right? It's super showy. But the idea was, we don't drug this one, but we have him conditioned with a word, so that when I say this word, and the word is scum, then this guy will, he'll hesitate for a moment, giving me an opportunity to kill him. So it's this whole ploy, and the Baron is uninformed of this plan, which is also interesting, right? So his nephew, who's supposed to be taking his place, keeps moving against the Baron, even though the Baron's like, "Shut up! I want you to be the Emperor someday. Stop fucking around." And they come to a head in a later chapter a little bit, and it almost goes perfectly, except that fighter was a little bit better than Feyd-Rautha had assumed he would be, so he got a good cut in on him. And like very much like a bullfight, it's like there's these barbs, so it's like kind of like, you know, when you're throwing the spears at the bull to like further agitate and wear them out and all that stuff. It's like these barbs that hook onto tendons, so you can't rip them out because it'll rip your tendon off. So you have to lash it to your arm so it'll stop interrupting. And this dude starts using it as armor. So when Feyd comes in with a knife, it's like dink, bounces off. And he's like, "I didn't think about that. Oh no!" And even though he got the kill, sort of like the guy knew he was poisoned, and so like in his last motion of like desperation or of like, I guess, determination, he falls on his own knife to kind of take that victory away from Feyd. But Feyd still spins it in a very like political way for himself. It's like, "Oh no, he's earned it. Give him a burial. I'm not going to cut off his head. He's earned, you know, good last rites. Blah blah blah." So it's just everyone's like, "Oh, what a hero! Cheer, cheer, cheer!" And they like drop the shields in the arena because everyone's now on Feyd's side, so they'll rush him and lift him up and all this stuff. And yeah, the Baron orders a feast, like a big party celebration thing.
They also talk about the Bene Gesserit with Fenring, and that there's also a plot to preserve the Harkonnen bloodline through her.
Yes, yeah, she's going to seduce Feyd. She's already gotten to work on that, right? Because when you first meet Feyd, he's all about her. He's just like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, and Baron's like, "Quit it." But that's their whole plan, is to seduce Feyd because they have to complete the bloodline. And they think that Paul is dead. They're like, "Oh, it would have been so much better if Paul was alive because he at least had his shit together." Or like Feyd has none of the discipline, a lot of similar training, but not the discipline and not the heart, not the level-headedness. And we have also learned in previous chapters, it's the same bloodline because the poor little Atreides kid is also a Harkonnen.
And the author again drops back to like the descriptions of like weird descriptions of like describing something as that of a young boy.
Yeah.
Does he describe the way her neck or something look like? And he goes like, you know, he described as something attractive. He goes, as that like that of a young boy. I was like,
Yeah, that. Just gotta remind you, he's gross. Super gross. And I like that he like, when he sits, he seems to turn off the suspensors. There's just like a nice mental image of him like hefting himself up out of his chair. Oh, speaking of chairs. No. No.
Your suspensors working there, Danny?
No. No. But then he has to like act. There we go. Yeah, so I like the suspensors that they're under the robe, whereas in like the 80s film version, he's literally flying. So I like that it's a little more covert. Yeah. I think this is also the chapter where he lashes out at the idea of even having a Bene Gesserit anywhere on his team. And that is a thing. I think it's this chapter. I might have highlighted it. We'll go through it again in more detail. But yeah, like a lot happens in that chapter, I think. And it's our first real exposure to Feyd and the Baron on their own planet. And yeah, there's this overconfidence, which is like, nope, I got the planet, it's all good. And is this the same chapter where they talk about oh no, that's later, that's with Thufir. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, that's chapter 35. Mezzi says, I've unfortunately seen a bullfight live. It's one of the most depressing things I've ever seen. Yeah. Did I miss anything else in there? Oh, yeah. Oh, Lady Fenring. I love that line. Do not count a human dead until you've seen his body. And even then, you can make a mistake. It's like comic book rules.
But also, like, giving the audience a hint that she, or like the Bene Gesserit at least, know maybe Paul is alive.
Yeah, or at least, leaving themselves open to the uncertainty of it.
Yeah.
Where the Baron completely writes it off. He's like, they were in the desert, there's a storm, that equals death. Like, don't have time to worry about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's implanting Parana Bindu phrases that will allow her to bend his will to hers. So she's getting to full work on Feyd-Rautha. without the parents' knowledge. Let's go to chapter 36. Chapter 36. This is Paul, Stilgar and Paul returning to their siege. Paul's welcomed into his new home. The giant cave system. People are feeling sorry for Shani because he's basically forgotten that her dad was Liet Kynes, Dr. Kynes. So he's like, oh yeah, he's dead. Like, oh no.
Is this where we learned that she's his daughter? We didn't know this before.
No, we do learn it before, but I think Paul hasn't actively made that connection in his mind.
Oh, okay.
They mentioned that she's the daughter of Liet a couple times.
Oh, somehow I missed that. This is when I found out.
Oh yeah. And we also learned that Paul is now responsible for Jameis's wife and children.
Yeah.
And it's, will you take her as woman or servant? And he's like, servant.
It's like, oh.
And she's all pissed. She's like, but I'm young. She's so mad. But like after a year, he's allowed to like, you can go marry, do whatever you want. And I love that the kids immediately take to him. I just think that's so cool. I think it's illustrated in the next chapter, but it's just a cool thing. So he gets shown his home and all this stuff, and he keeps kind of like barking at her to like solidly make this divide. He's like, there will be no romantic interaction between us. Like that's not what I'm here for. Yeah. So and so he uses the voice on her a couple times to like have her like nah. So he goes from like being kind of verbally abusive to being like, no, I won't hurt you. Damn it, Paul, you psychopath. And he asks her, is like, why don't you hate me? And she's like, well, no, at the funeral you said you're a friend to Jameis, so culturally, like, you're good. We got you.
Yeah, because it was like ceremonial, like it was done by the books. So she's like, there's no reason to be mad at you.
Yeah, and only one of.
Bye, Danny. What happened to Danny? I can't hear you, Ryan. Oh, because you're connected to... Okay. Can they hear me? Okay, everybody. They're going to fix something. I don't want to bore you why you can't also hear Ryan, but there's reasons. And Danny dropped out or something. Because of our weird setup we have right now, we're Frankensteining a couple things as we're transitioning into other things. So we're in weird setups right now. And Danny just had a hiccup, which also broke Ryan. Oh, look, it's just us two now. But Ryan has no voice because he's connected to Danny. Oh, look, I'm in a weird thing. He's thinking about his word really hard. He's coming back.
Woo!
Hey.
There you are.
I'm gonna smash this computer.
No.
By our hands.
Arr. Maybe we should get you like a little
Computer?
like tiny PC.
Yeah, I think I just need one because it's getting ridiculous. All right, cool. So what I was saying is Jameis is only the father of the youngest kid because she had already belonged to another man in a previous marriage that he had, we assume, had challenged. Oh no, we do learn he had challenged her old husband, became the new husband, and now Paul is responsible, not necessarily her husband because he's allowed to make that choice.
Mm-hmm. He just has to take care of her, make sure she's okay.
Yeah, and after a year, he doesn't necessarily have to take care of her, but he'll always be responsible for the kids, which is kind of interesting.
And it's cool because one of those kids belongs to Jameis, but the other one belonged to the previous person that he killed.
Yeah. And this is all perfectly normal.
Mm-hmm.
And we do see the children, and each of them carry a crysknife, and they're all serious looking. And there's that reminder in Paul's brain that, the kids are as vicious as the adults. It's cute for a moment. The 36 is pretty short. It's just more kind of cultural definition for the Fremen. Yeah. It's a cool moment. Chapter 37, I believe, is the trippy AF chapter, right? This is the 5,000 Fremen gathering.
Oh, yeah.
The well. But it turns into like 20,000 before the end. Oh, no. sorry, that number is later. So yeah, the two sons are like flanking Paul. Like they take their job as bodyguard very seriously, which is just adorable. Like just little.
Because they're little. They're like 8 and 10. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just like full on murdery bodyguards. And Shani's wearing a green kerchief because she is in mourning. They have a litter come in carrying their Reverend Mother, who is this like they keep describing her as a crone. She's just this very wrinkly old lady.
Like super old. They carry her in, right? And she like only walks a couple steps to her chair.
Yeah.
And she's like, during the ceremony, she's like, so Shani and Jessica are to be.
And we lost audio again.
I don't know what is
There you go.
happening.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're back.
Yeah, it's just Zoom is doing shit on its own. It's making selections and deselecting stuff. It's just like, I've changed your audio. Anyway, that's fun.
Hey, Super Token.
Super Token, morning.
What's up? Good morning.
Talking Dune. So, spoilers. We're on chapters 35 through 40.
35 to 40.
We got. Yeah, so Shani and Jessica are going through the same change. And it's this weird thing where they pull out this super spice laden water. And it has a specific name. I forgot. Is it cold or something like that? Call?
Oh.
Well, and this is the time where Shani is given the title of Saidina, right? Like she's made into like a, which is like. Explain
It's in the back of the book.
So Saidina is just it's Reverend Mother, right? So
No, I think this Saidina is like kind of like a nun, and then the Reverend Mother is like higher.
Got it.
Saidina is just you're part of the group of special important ladies.
Yeah. So this is like the rustic version of becoming a Reverend Mother for Jessica. Because she's like, the Bene Gesserit do this, but completely different, I think. She's basically saying, like, I don't know how they do it, but it's got to be different than what's happening right now. So they have her drink this this highly concentrated spice thing, and it just opens her brain in like the Paul Muad'Dib fashion, right? And she's like, I am the mote of dust, but I am also not the mote of dust. I can see myself seeing myself. I can do all this stuff. And she like, in trying to like look inside her kind of like spectral form, she's not able to see that. And she's like, oh, that's the place for the Kwisatz Haderach. I'm not allowed there, but I'm allowed everywhere else. And she starts to chemically like change and move around the molecules within the liquid in her own mouth to make it safe, because it is a poison initially. And so she, through this crazy batshit ceremony, is able to change the chemical composition of this stuff and make it safe and drinkable for everybody. And
yeah, because she still had the thing on her mouth, right? So it was basically she was connected to the entire container.
Yeah. And Garamond the Gretch says this about the little girl. We're not at the little girl yet. No, we're talking about this is the ceremony in the siege, in the water chamber.
The term Saidina means feminine acolyte in the Fremen religious hierarchy.
Aha.
Yeah.
There we go. So, yeah. Space Nun.
Space Nut.
Space Nun. Oh yes, the Water Master brings the seed, but it does have a Fremen word, and I've forgotten what it is, but I'm sure we'll pass it in a bit. Oh yeah, and Jessica kind of sneaks in, like she doesn't let their Reverend Mother know that she's pregnant. And so that Reverend Mother, she like gets up finally. She looked like she's been asleep this whole time, but once she notices that Jessica has changed the chemical composition, she like touches Jessica, and now Jessica is locked in not just to all of the memories of that Reverend Mother, like she's got her entire existence, but all the Reverend Mothers that Reverend Mother was connected to in the past. So all of them, they're described as like doors in a hallway, and behind each door you can hear different thoughts and different lives and all this
She
stuff
Vulcan mind melded.
Yeah, totally. And they completely join together. And when she sees the crone in her own mind, though, she sees the crone as the crone sees herself, which is this young, beautiful, virile Bene Gesserit woman. And she's like, "You didn't tell me you were pregnant. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You crazy?" Like she gets.
Oh, he does. She does see her as a little girl.
As a little girl?
Yeah.
I thought it was young.
Just a
No.
young woman.
Young woman in like a flowing dress, I thought.
I think I very specifically said she saw her as a little girl. Keep going, I'll find it. Okay. Maybe not.
It might be both, because she saw all her life stages, I think. But yeah, that transfer happened like within the moment of death, which is why this, I think, ceremony had to be pushed because she knew she was going.
Well, yeah, they were going to be leaving the keep.
Yes, and she wouldn't survive the journey. Yeah. So, and then they have everybody passes the bottle around and gets all drinky, and everybody's tripping. And Paul and Shani have their moment where they realize that like they're gonna end up together. They're gonna have kids. Like they see each other's kids together. It's weirdly romantic, but also super creepy at the same time. It's just bad shit. Let me see.
Yeah, and Paul's just trying to keep it together, like at all. Like he has no reference of time anymore. He's just like, I'm here somewhere.
And this also is Jessica's moment where they are now secured within the Fremen religion as the chosen people for them. This was the last test from Stilgar, and Stilgar's like, "Yep, you're in. You're it. You're the real deal." So Paul's vision this time, he sees himself balanced on a tight wire. On one side, he sees his enemies. On the other side, he sees the Fremen and the Jihad. And then there's a very, I love that moment. I'm just gonna wait till we get there and just read that last part of that chapter between him and Shani. It's like the best. It's beautiful.
I found the thing. It's very vague. It just says a young girl with a dancing spirit and tender humor. I read that as a little girl for some reason.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know what that specifically means. Young girl.
Ooh, book 3, chapter 38. We're at.
It feels like book 2 might be where the movie ends, and book 3 is the second movie to me.
I believe that. I think we finally hit that point where that's the best place to stop. Because it's like ba 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 ba, and now we're ready. And then jump ahead 2 years as a
next movie will start 2 years in the future. That makes sense to me.
Just a lot of book. And so now we're on book 3 within book 1. This is now 2 years in the future, and we're talking with the Baron. This is like the chapter of flexing, and I love it so much. So the Baron and Fade are just fucking going after each other. Fade makes an attempt on the Baron's life by sending in a young boy for the Baron to play with, basically. But he had put a poisoned barb, like a needle, in the boy's thigh because he knew that the Baron would touch him there. And he... So the Baron sees it, but he only sees it because Thufir warned him. So Fade would have succeeded if Thufir Hawat wasn't doing his fucking job. And so the Baron opens the scene with like, "I'm gonna punish Fade," and you just see him just like, you dare.
No, we lost Danny again. I bet he said the word fuck. I think I heard it through the wall. Very angrily. He's very upset. He's coming back. Ba, 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 ba. It was weird that none of this happened before. It's just right now. And we tend to only have issues during this show for some reason.
Whoa!
Whoa, there's 4 of you.
What? No, did the other one not leave?
No. There it is. Now it left.
This is all Zoom. For once, my computer is actually behaving. But not Zoom for some reason. I'm gonna start after.
Should have gone that vMix route today.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. So he goes to Nefud, and who's his his lead security guy. He's like, "Hey, where's my nephew?" And he's like, "Oh, I think he's in the slaves' quarters." He's like, "I thought I told you to tell me exactly where he is, who he's talking to, every word he says. Why aren't you there?" And he's terrified, but dude's so drugged up, like he still looks like he's got his shit together, but he's terrified. Oh yeah, because so the Baron at this point only says that there was a blemish on the boy, meaning like, oh, he wasn't properly checked, like he had a flaw. So Nefud's like, I don't even understand why he's mad. We find out later that it's because there was a needle because Fade was trying to kill him. But the Fade was there playing pyramid chess with the slave master. And so the Baron proposes a bargain, and I love that he calls it a bargain. He's basically like, I won't kill you, and you'll keep me around until it's time for me to retire, and then you take charge. He's like, because it's like, I'm helpful. You need me because you're slipping up. It's interesting. And Fade keeps kind of like, there's this beautiful moment where Fade's just like, I forget, I'll paraphrase, but it's basically like, you're a useless old man. He's like, you think I'm a useless old man? Because he thinks it in his head. And then the Baron's like, I know exactly what you're thinking. And he's fucking right. And I love that.
Yes.
And then you see there's punishment. Oh yeah, so Fade has to go in, accompany the Baron, and kill every woman in the pleasure wing while he watches.
Yeah.
And then the two men two security guards that are clearly working for Fade, because he like nodded them off and they're like, okay, see you later. And he told Nefud, okay, first go garrote the slave master. So strangle him to death, bring the body back here, but also go kill those two guys. And then Fade, you're gonna come with me and we're gonna go murder all the women you've ever touched. Like just straight up. It's like, yeah, you're gonna do this and you're gonna learn. You're gonna, hard lessons.
And which is because he does intend for him to like become the next Baron.
Yeah, he wants to
like
be the Emperor, not just Baron.
Yeah. But like Fade doesn't trust them on that, but he actually does just want to keep pushing him forward. Yeah. So this is all this is happening for nothing. This idiot's been an idiot because he's not trusting him.
Yeah. It's like him, the Baron, the Baron, Fade, and Beast are all kind of like that because those two are they're related to the Baron. That's just the life they know. And he's like surprised that they're acting like everyone's out to get them and the only choice is murder.
I mean, it's kind of the theme of the whole books, right? A lot of people don't trust each other at one point or another.
Oh, yeah. On to book 3, chapter 39. This is the Baron and Thufir Hawat. This is where they're making plans,
they have the conversation.
Doing all that stuff. We finally learn exactly why the Emperor wanted to destroy House Atreides, and it was because the Duke Leto was, through Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho, were training fighting units that were comparable to the Sardaukar. So like the Sardaukar are what like the iron fist of the Emperor that allow him to maintain control over the various planets because of his prison planet. And Hawat finally like drops the knowledge bomb on the Baron that there are probably around 10 million Fremen sneaking around.
Yeah, because he thinks there's a few hundred. He's like 100 or something.
Yeah, it's like there's like 4,000 left. The Beast keeps killing them all, and he's like, you don't realize it's like you lost, or you're like Beast Raban lost like 30,000 men to like 10,000 Fremen or something, and that's Sardaukar troops that he's lost. And he's like, and that's probably a conservative estimate because Beast Raban is probably lying about how many people he lost to not piss off his uncle. And so the new choice is to abandon Beast Raban and just like offer him no aid, but still demand the money and turn Arrakis into a new
Salusa Secundus.
Oh, sorry. Wait, is that right?
Salusa Secundus.
Yeah, Salusa.
It's my new favorite word.
Which is the prison planet where the Emperor makes his Sardaukar troops. And so he's basically, it's without telling Beast Raban, forcing him to kind of like force the Fremen laborers to become this new fighting force for them. And then once it's desperate, Fade will swoop in and be the hero, which was Baron's plan the whole time, but he finally let Thufir in on it. They mentioned that there is like a new messiah among the Fremen people, but they both sort of dismiss it outwardly. But Hawat knows like, oh, that can be dangerous because he's like, people need religion; it'll keep them busy. But Hawat's just like, it's gonna be bad.
Well, and also like this is all still something on Hawat's mind of just like whatever I can do to get one over on the Baron in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, Hawat's an angry, confused man.
And still believes that Jessica was the traitor.
Fool. You fool. On to chapter 40. This is Paul waking up in a place outside time and space. So this is further hammering in that it's 2 years in the future. So his sister's been born.
He has a son.
What? Oh, he sees his son, right?
No, he's had a son.
Yeah.
Huh?
Leto the second.
Leto, yeah.
Oh, Leto 2. Oh, yeah. Sorry, yes.
With Shani.
Yes. Leto 2.
And they all live in the south, except he's up.
If I have a kid, I should name him Art 2. Wait a minute. I'm R2 because my dad's name's Arturo.
Wow, that explains everything.
Sorry. Tangent.
Yeah, so now he finally wakes up and he is next to Shani.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be in the south, but instead she came to watch him take his test. And the test is to ride a sandworm. Good. So exciting.
I'm guessing he's not going to ride a sandworm the size that we saw in the trailer for the movie. Because I don't know how you ride that.
It's supposed to be the biggest one.
Yeah, it's the biggest one. He's never even heard of one this large from the Fremen, because that's how that chapter ends.
Fuck, so he's going to ride that giant-ass thing that we saw in the movie?
That giant-ass thing in the movie is probably because it's the two of them, right? So I have a feeling that's the sandworm that chases them out of the desert. Jessica.
Yeah.
There's a bigger one.
There's a bigger
Most
one.
likely, yeah. I mean, they're
Holy shit.
huge.
Yeah.
Shishakli gives Paul his hooks, which have never failed. It's very cute. It's kind of like Stilgar is trying to be all official, but he keeps leaning over. He's like, "Good, do great, kid. You go get him. Go get him." And yeah, so he kind of like flashes back to all the advice he got from everybody who wants him to succeed, including Stilgar and Shani and all these other characters. But yeah, that's a nice kind of like hop along through time, kind of letting you know where everybody was, and might be in the future. Leader the Second is dope. And that's generally it. So that chapter ends before he gets to ride the worm. But they talk about how the maker hooks work. So you like hook it under one of the ridges, which exposes the flesh of the sandworm, and then to avoid getting sand in itself, like in the gap, the sandworm rolls over, bringing that part to the top. So you like ride the sandworm up to the top, and then you're supposed to like stay on top. As long as you keep it hooked, it won't ever bring that side back down. So you can ride it to exhaustion. And they call it a 20 thumper journey, which means he's going to have to swap worms like throughout the desert. So he's going to have to like tire out this one, drop another thumper, get another worm. So do that 20 times to get into the deep desert. That's his trial. That's his big hurrah.
Well, and the reason he's making this challenge to himself now is because he knows the only way he can be accepted in the South is to take this challenge.
Yep.
Because that's the challenge they take when they're 12.
Right.
So he's a few years, he's 6 years too late.
Too old. Let's just go through. Let's go
Hey,
through
Lon.
and
Go
do
back.
some detailed stuff. So we're going to backtrack a little bit onto chapter
35.
35.
35.
35.
Yep.
35. Yes.
All right. So 35. Get it up. Boop. I love the concept of progress acts as a protective mechanism to shield us from the terrors of the future. It's one of the collected sayings of Muad'Dib. So when he's an adult, I like a lot. This is the whole bullfight. I mean, it's an interesting chapter, but not super quotable in my opinion. I do like. I think I mentioned this last time too, but the fact that there is a literal cone of silence machine in this universe cracks me up. Anyway,
so in this, when he goes out to fight, and so that's why I didn't get. Why did they like change how the fight was supposed to go? Because they're supposed to drug the guy.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be like orangey or something, but they actually painted him so he look orangey.
Right.
But why did they do that? Why did they do that way?
So it was to make it look like Fade was an even better fighter than he actually is. So normally you would go in and fight a drugged, sluggish person that you're basically there to slaughter for entertainment. But the idea is if I make them believe that this man is not drugged and he's completely capable of killing me, and then I still overpower him by cheating because he's got the poison on the wrong blade, then people will be like, oh shit, look at Fade. Look at this guy. Like he overcame that horrible battle and the slave master is responsible. So he's got to die. Like,
And so that's why they gave him that secret word to make him.
Yes.
That's the other way he
just
cheated.
a further layer of cheating that Fade Rotha gets away with. So that's like his security. It's just this is theater. It was all theater.
Which is kind of risky because the guy could have killed him.
Yeah. Oh, and he almost did. He got super close because the dude's just a better fighter. He's bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So it's great.
And you also hear that Hoofer is pitting them against the Baron and Fade against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was all like he was working with Hoofer to do this plan, but also the Baron's been having him do other plans with Thufir.
Like
Lots of things.
this Fenring just being a badass. It's like, I do not like your tone, Count, the Baron said. Anger is one thing, violence another, the Count said. Let me caution you, should an unfortunate accident occur to me here at the great house, here, the great houses, all would learn what you did on Arrakis. They've long suspected how you do business. So everyone knows that he's a shit.
Yeah, and I like that when they're talking in the cone, he drops the like old man thing, and it's just like he's just talking straight. He's clearly that's kind of because I think earlier on the Baron mentioned something about somebody like him is more dangerous because he looks weak, but he's not.
Okay.
He points out that he basically plays this weak old man, but he is very powerful.
Super unassuming. Super Palpatine. Why is the Emperor so interested in exterminating the Fremen? Asked the Baron. And the Count straight up laughs at him when he thinks when he finds out the Baron thinks that he can harness the Fremen as a fighting force or workforce. He's like, there were never enough of them for that, the Baron said, but the killing has made the rest of my population uneasy. It's reaching the point where I'm considering another solution to the Arakeen problem, my dear Fenring. And I must confess, the Emperor deserves credit for the inspiration. And this is where he's like, I'm going to turn it into a prison planet. And Fenring freaks out. He's like, what? He says, what possible connection is there between Arrakis and Seleucus Secundus? The Baron felt the alertness in Fenring's eyes, said, no connection yet. Yet? You must admit it'd be a way to develop a substantial workforce on Arrakis. Use the place as a prison planet. So the Baron is thinking, I'll have them make me thopters and spice harvesters and all that stuff. But the Count Fenring thinks at this point that Baron has figured out the Sardaukar like mechanism that is on Seleucus Secundus. So that's why he's like, oh shit, like he could actually do it. Because the Fremen, he's probably aware, are actually dangerous. But the Baron doesn't understand this yet.
Right.
So it's that moment of just kind of like, we know what the Baron doesn't know. Oh, this is he really wants the Emperor to like accuse him publicly because he's cleaned his steps so many times. He's like, the Baron whirled away in his suspensors to hide his expression. So he's like being all dramatic. He's like, no. It happened in my lifetime, he thought. Emperor, let him wrong me. Then the bribes and coercion, the rallying of the great houses, they'd flock to my banner like peasants running for shelter. The thing they fear above all else is the Emperor's Sardaukar loosed upon them one house at a time. Just this whole, he's great. He's just like, yeah, you bruise my ego publicly because if you accuse me and you're wrong, they'll never believe you again.
Yeah.
So he's like, please come at me, please. Like that, it'll only help. This is just a cute piece of dialogue. The mankind has only one science, the Count said as they picked up their parade of followers and emerged from the hall into the waiting room, a narrow space with high windows and floor of patterned white and purple tile. And what science is that? The Baron asked. It's the science of discontent, the Count said. He's a fucking oh no, what's his name? He's Ian Malcolm. Let's see. Right, white for poison, black for purity. A curious custom, isn't it, my love? Fenring. Fade Rotha being shitty. Gladiator. Oh yeah, Fade Rotha didn't know that Thufir was going to send one of Duke Leto's fighting men. So he did say like, oh yeah, I'll send somebody. Don't worry about it. I got you. But he didn't tell him it was going to be an Atreides fighter, which is just great. Skippy skip. This is a long chapter. Lots of action. Yeah, and then it's just the whole we're gonna seduce this kid. Oh yeah, would that we could have saved both the Atreides youth and this one. From what I heard of that young Paul, a most admirable lad, a good union of breeding and training, he shook his head, but we shouldn't waste sorrow or the aristocracy of misfortune. There's a Bene Gesserit saying, she said. You have sayings for everything, he protested. Like this one, she said. It goes, do not count a human dead until you've seen his body. And even then, you can make a mistake. So yeah, she's got her spooky Bene Gesserit suspicions. I know what we're talking about. On to the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that the Baron is so, for being such a like powerful, pretty smart guy. That's the one thing. He's just like, yeah, they're dead. Whatever. Like he's no.
He's used to his plans working, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he trusts that things are done. Because I imagine it's like, if you lie to that dude, you're dead. So I imagine he just trusts people on their word because they know they'll be executed if they get it wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're executed even if they get it right. This next chapter is the whole Jameis thing. Paul becoming dad, basically. I don't like killing. Thus Stilgar tells it, she said. So it's like his new lady. She's like, yeah, sure you don't. You happy murderer, you. Yeah, Hera is his new blood there. Next chapter, kind of talked through the majority of that one. The Sons of Jameis, who are now the Sons of Usul, Stilgar said, they take their escort duties seriously. He ventured a smile at Jessica. Okay, this is when they walk in with their hands on their knives, just scowling at everybody around him. Little kid's like, fucking try it.
Also, there's one part in here that they say that there is only one Liet.
Yep.
And it's also, the way I read it, it sounds more like Liet is a title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Liet Kynes, so to them, they spoke with him with like religious reverence.
Yeah.
So he was the Liet for a long time. And then we find out that he is Liet Kynes. He's taken both names, but he was Dr. Kynes initially. Became Liet to them. He basically bent the Fremen religion to give them hope for a future that doesn't include violence. So this whole like, once we terraform, we can finally have peace. And so he's instilled that into the religion. And so he became the Liet. So he's like almost prophet status, not quite prophet status, but he found a way to like work his way into the culture and kind of harness it. So they still speak of him with a lot of reverence. So yeah, it's like a name and a title, kind of like Paul's new names. It's like their names and titles. This is old woman's voice comes out. Oh, there's an acoustical horn. I forgot about that. Talks into like a megaphone. Shani has returned from her Hajra. Shani has seen the waters. A susurrant response arose from the crowd. She has seen the waters. I consecrate the daughter of Liet and the Sayadina, husked the old woman. She is accepted, the crowd responded. And this is and Paul just being worried about his mom. It is fitting that Shani entered the Sayadina. It is fitting, the crowd responded. The old woman nodded, whispered, I give her the silver skies, the golden desert and its shining rocks, the green fields that will be. I give these to Sayadina Shani, and lest she forget that she's servant of us all. Her fall the menial tasks in the ceremony of the seed. Let it be as Shai-Hulud will have it. She lifted a brown stick arm, dropped it. That's the closing of like the opening ceremonies of this other ceremony. The water masters come forward. They do things. Oh yeah, they have small skin sacks, twice the size of a human head, sloshing heavily. This is where Jessica doesn't know what to expect. She's like, spice? A ton of spice? An ungodly amount of spice? I'm gonna die. Like, she's kind of freaking out. Is there seed? Shani asked. There is seed, the man said. Blessed is the water and its seed. Blah, blah, blah. So she's already Sayadina at this point. So Jessica's been accepted as like priestess, but not as Reverend Mother at this point. Have you tasted the blessed water? And Jessica's like, and Shani's like, it's not possible. You've tasted the blessed water. You're an outworlder and unprivileged. So I was like, the crop was large and the maker has been destroyed, Shani said. Important.
Hey, Kirpikern.
Shani lifts the spout towards Jessica and says, here is the water of life, the water that is greater than water. Khan, the water that frees the soul. If you be a reverend mother, it opens the universe to you. Let Shai-Hulud judge now. And she's like, Jessica feels herself torn between duty to her unborn child and duty to Paul. For Paul, she should take the spout and drink the sack's contents, but as she bent the proffered spout, her senses told her its peril. And she makes the choice. She's like, is it a liquor? Is it a drug? We don't know. Spice liquor? Because she was remembering the breath of Duncan when he came in all drunk. And
really, it's like, if you don't die, we're cool with you.
My favorite part is She goes for a taste, and Johnny's like,
I go,
she just fucking squirts it in her mouth. She's like, to accept a little death is worse than death itself, Shani said. That's why she's like, don't just fucking drink it. And this is where her brain explodes. And so this is where she decides this is a drug. It's a drug. Her whole body is like, whoop, 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 whoop. Oh, time stops to keep her from dying. So like this spice allows her to like slip back and be like, okay, I've got like whatever amount of time I'm being given to fix this problem. And the answer to this instant came like an explosion in her consciousness. Her personal time was suspended to save her life. She focused on the psychokinesthetic extension of herself, looking within, and was confronted immediately with a cellular core, a pit of blackness from which she recoiled. That is the place where we cannot look, she thought. There is the place that the Reverend Mothers are so reluctant to mention, the place where only a Kwisatz Haderach may look. And then she's like, okay, backing away from there. Whee! Just full on tripping. And then we got dancing particles, helical wavering, glucose molecule, chain of molecules confronted her, and she recognized a protein, a methyl protein configuration. Because of course. There was a soundless mental sigh within her as she saw the nature of the poison. With her psychokinesthetic probing, she moved into it, shifted an oxygen mote, allowing another carbon mote to link, reattached a linkage of oxygen, hydrogen. The change spread faster and faster as the catalyzed reaction opened its surface of contact. The suspension of time relaxed its hold upon her, and she sensed motion. The tube spout from the sac was touched to her mouth, gently, collecting a drop of moisture. Johnny's taking the catalyst from my body to change the poison in that sac, Jessica thought. Why? So she like chemically fixed the liquid in her mouth. It gets sucked back up into the bottle, purifies the bottle, and then is going to get passed around. And it was like, let them have their orgy. Not in that way, the other kind of orgy. Mutual awareness. The young girl said, yes, that is how I am. This is when she sees the Reverend Mother. This is hallucination, Jessica told herself. You know better than that, the inward image said. Swiftly now, do not fight me. There isn't much time. There came a long pause. Then, you should have told us you were pregnant. Jessica found the voice that talked within the mutual awareness. Why? This changes both of you. Holy mother, what have you done? She's like, fuck. And the next chapter, I think they talk about and everyone's afraid of Alia. They think she's a fucking witch. Like you should drown witches. Like they don't like this little girl.
Well, especially the fact she's like one or two at this point.
Yeah, she's like
can talk.
She's speaking of the world.
Yeah.
She knows everything her mother knows. Too late, Jessica saw what was happening. The old woman was dying, and in dying, pouring her experiences into Jessica's awareness as water is poured into a cup. The other mote faded back into the pre-birth awareness as Jessica watched it. And dying in conception, the old Reverend Mother left her life in Jessica's memory with one last sighing blur of words. I've been a long time waiting for you, she said. Here is my life. There it was, encapsulated, all of it, even the moment of death. I am now a Reverend Mother, Jessica realized. Blah, 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 blah. And then Jessica's immediate guilt. I did it, my poor, unformed, dear little daughter. I brought you into this universe and exposed your awareness to all its varieties without any defenses. Wompity womp.
And she also felt like the connection to her daughter, like kind of a, like, it's okay, kind of.
Yeah. It has been blessed, so let the catalyst do its work, she thought. Let the people drink of it and have their awareness of each other heightened for a while. The drug is safe now that a Reverend Mother has changed it. So everybody just goes around, glug, 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 glug. This is when... she even sees like the beginning of the Fremen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't even on Arrakis the first time.
Yeah. So it was revealing to Jessica that the Fremen culture was far older than she had suspected. There had been Fremen on Porytrin, she saw, a people grown soft with an easy planet, fair game for Imperial raiders to harvest and plant human colonies on Bela Tegus and Salusa Secundus. And then just hearing more protesting voices in the various hallways of her mind. Ooh, and this is where we learn where this specific liquid came from. But Jessica's attention was focused on the revelation of the water of life, seeing its source, the liquid exhalation of a dying sandworm, a maker. And as she saw the killing of it in her new memory, she suppressed a gasp. The creature was drowned, which drowned on Arrakis is a fucking weird concept. Anyway, love that. He realized suddenly that it was one thing to see the past occupying the present, but the true test of prescience was to see the past in the future. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I love these moments. Yeah, Alia is great. She's crazy.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more of her.
You are Sahaya, the desert spring. When the tribe shares the water, she said, we're together, all of us. We share. I can sense the others with me, but I'm afraid to share with you. Why? He tried to focus on her, but past and future were merging into the present, blurring her image. He saw her in countless ways and positions and settings. Skipping down, she looked down at her hands. I see a child in my arms. It's our child, yours and mine. She put a hand to her mouth. How can I know every feature of you? La la la. Where is it? So quiet, blah, blah, blah. This is him on the thing. This is him talking about all this evil shit over here, all this evil shit over here. Paul felt himself at the center, at the pivot where this whole structure turned, walking a thin wire of peace with a measure of happiness, Shani at his side. He could see it stretching ahead of him, a time of relative quiet and hidden siege, a moment of peace between periods of violence. There's no other place for peace, he said. Usul, you're crying, Shani murmured. Usul, my strength, do you give moisture to the dead? To who's dead? To one's not yet dead, he said. Then let them have their time of life. So cute. So cute. And he sees that she's right. And that's when they're like, I see us giving love to each other in a time of quiet between storms. It's what we were meant to do. You're the strong one, Shani, he muttered. Stay with me. Always, she said, and kissed his cheek. So they're all fucking high, hopped up on prescience-inducing drugs, and then that's where they fall in love. So cute.
It's the best way to fall in love, all drugged up.
Yeah. Woohoo! It's all just a fever dream, man. That'd be awesome. So on to chapter 37, I think. Chapter 3, or book 3. Almost 2 years. La, la, la. This is the barren betrayal of Fade. Now, they've a new prophet or religious leader of some kind among the Fremen, the Baron said. They call him Muad'Dib. Very funny, really. It means the mouse. I've told Raban to let them have their religion. It'll keep them occupied. Oops. Fucking oops. That's fine. I love that. Oh, yeah, this is the moment I was thinking of before. Why haven't you ever bought a Bene Gesserit, Uncle? Feyd-Rautha asked. With a truth-sayer at your side. You know my tastes, the Baron snapped. Feyd-Rautha studied his uncle, said, Still, one would be valuable for... I trust them not, the Baron snarled, and stopped trying to change the subject. So he was very touchy about Bene Gesserits specifically, which is interesting. This is when he calls out Fade. Talking about his bargain. La, la, la. Where is it? What's a dangerous toy, they keep saying. La, 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 la. And this is where he reveals to Feyd-Rautha, like, I plan for you to be the next emperor. And that's when he's like, oh, okay. That sounds good. I forgot. Now you see how you need me, the Baron said. I'm yet of use, Fade. A sword to be wielded until he's too blunt for use, Feyd-Rautha thought. Yes, uncle, he said. And now, the Baron said, we will go down to the slave quarters, we too, and I will watch while you, with your own hands, kill all the women in the pleasure wing. Uncle! There will be other women, Fade, but I have said that you do not make a mistake casually with me. Feyd-Rautha's face darkened. Uncle, you'll accept your punishment and learn something from it, the Baron said. The weirdest go pick a switch I've ever seen. The next chapter, and also interrupt me because I'm just blurring through. If you guys
no, that's good. Some of these chapters just move really fast.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the first 2 chapters were like long, and these two just kind of boom, boom, boom. Hit.
I like this this other opener. Deep in the human unconscious is a pervasive need for a logical universe that makes sense. But the real universe is always one step beyond logic. From Sayings of What Deep by the Princess Irulan. This is the Baron just word vomiting and Thufir judging him. He babbles too much, Hawat thought. He's not like Leto, who could tell me a thing with the lift of an eyebrow or the wave of a hand, nor like the old Duke, who could express an entire sentence in the way he accented a single word. This is a clod. Destroying him will be a service to mankind. This is where, specifically, the Padishah Empire turned against the House Atreides because the Duke's war masters, Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho, had trained a fighting force, a small fighting force, to within a hair as good as the Sardaukar. Some of them were even better. And the Duke was in a position to enlarge his force, to make it every bit as strong as the Emperor's. And the Baron weighed this disclosure. Then, what has Arrakis to do with this? It provides a pool of recruits already conditioned to the bitterest survival training. The Baron shook his head. You cannot mean the Fremen. I mean the Fremen. Then why warn Rabban? There cannot be more than a handful of Fremen left after the Sardaukar pogrom and Rabban's oppression. Hawat continued to stare at him silently. Like, you idiot. Not more than a handful, the Baron repeated. Rabban killed 6,000 of them last year alone. Still, Hawat stared at him. And the year before, it was 9,000, the Baron said. And before they left, the Sardaukar must have accounted for at least 20,000. What are the... we now know the Sardaukar have removed themselves from Arrakis, thinking the job done. So it's just the Baron's men now. So just the Harkonnens. What are Rabban's top troop losses for the past 2 years? Hawat asked. The Baron rubbed his jowls. Well, he has been recruiting rather heavily, to be sure. His agents make rather extravagant promises, and shall we say 30,000 in round numbers? Hawat asked. That would seem a little high, he said. Quite the contrary, Hawat said. I can read between the lines of Rabban's reports as well as you can, and you certainly must have understood my reports from our agents. It's just like, by your own count, he killed 15,000 over 2 years while losing twice that number. You say the Sardaukar accounted for another 20,000, possibly a few more. And I've seen the transportation manifest for their return from Arrakis. If they killed 20,000, they lost almost 5 for 1. Why won't you face these figures, Baron, and understand what they mean? And he's like, you tell me. 10 million is the assumption of how many Fremen there are and how much they fight. And he says, we haven't even cut heavily into their birth rate growth figure, Hawat said. We've just weeded out some of their less successful specimens, leaving the strong to grow stronger, just like on Seleucus Secundus. And this is where the Baron's brain has finally opened to where Sardaukar come from. He explains all that. Skippy, skip. La la la, la la la. Oh, and poor Hawat. What a poisonous hate she must have had for the Atreides, he thought, talking about Jessica. Mm-hmm. Something like the hate I hold for this Baron. Will my blow be as final and complete as hers? So throughout all this, as helpful as he's being, he's still planning his own chess game to destroy the Harkonnens. But still thinking Jessica was the betrayer. It sucks. Yeah. And then super downer at the top of the next chapter. Lots of talking about beauty and nature, blah, blah, blah. And it ends with, it is clear that the ultimate pattern contains its own fixity. In such perfection, all things move toward death. Alia, the strange one, his sister, had gone there with his mother and with Shania. 20-thumper tripped into the south, riding a reverend mother's palanquin fixed to the back of a Wildmaker. And he's like having to remind himself when now is repeatedly. Yeah. He's like, he shied away from the thought of ridding the giant worms, asking himself, or is Alia yet to be born? He's like, no, I was on Razia, Peter recalled. We went raiding to recover the water of our dead in Arrakeen, and I found the remains of my father in the funeral pyre. I enshrined the skull of my father in a Fremen rock mound overlooking Harg Pass. Or was this a thing yet to be? My wounds are real, Paul told himself. My scars are real. The shrine of my father's skull is real. So he's like, where am I? Every time he wakes up, man, poor dude. Oh, it's because I think he just had a meal, right? Like a spice meal. So he's like, and I love that Shani murdered a dude who came to challenge him. Just fucking annihilated him. He's like, I come to dead. So, well, if he can't fight me, he clearly doesn't deserve to fight you. And that like discouraged other people from challenging him because like I hate the mentality of it. Where it's like, well, if you couldn't beat his wife, then you can't beat him. But that's their strategy. And it works for this. Oh yeah, he was not worthy, Usul, Shani said. I'd not disturb your meditations with the likes of him. She moved closer, looking at him out of the corners of her eyes, dropping her voice so that only he might hear. Beloved, when it's learned that a challenger may face me and be brought to shameful death by Muad'Dib's woman, there'll be fewer challengers. It's one of those like, yeah. Good. Oh.
She's just manipulating the oppressive system. That's what she's doing.
Yep. She's badass. When religion and politics travel in the same cart, the riders believe nothing can stand in their way. Their movement becomes headlong, faster and faster and faster. They put aside all thought of obstacles and forget that a precipice does not show itself to the man in a blind rush until it is too late. I like that quote.
Put that on t-shirts.
I saw I'm always looking for Dune shirts, and I saw there's like a Chom shirt, but they misspelled Chom. Chom.
Chow.
But the breakdown is in the correct order. I was like, how do you just fucking fix it? Chat the Leaper, captain of the Fedaykin. So Paul now has an entire personal army dedicated to his own protection now, which was not a thing that existed 2 years ago. So he's got his own personal guard. So they really are treating him like this, special being. So they call them death commandos. So, I mean, take that as you will. Murder machines, everybody. Oh yes, this is the beginning of his test. He had not ridden the Maker. Oh, he'd gone up with the others for training trips and raids, but he had not made his own voyage. Until he did, his world was bounded by the abilities of others. No true Fremen could permit this. Until he did this thing himself, even the great Southlands, the area some 20 thumpers beyond the Arab, were denied him, unless he ordered a palanquin and rode like a reverend mother or one of the sick and wounded. It's embarrassing, Paul. It's embarrassing that you haven't ridden a worm yet. And this is him still trying to see the future, but getting all fogged up in this moment. He has no idea the outcome, anything about this specific point in time. His entire future was becoming like a river hurtling toward a chasm, a violent nexus beyond, which was all fog and clouds. Ooh. Oh yeah, I like that Stilgar made him a thumper. That's so cute. I made this one myself. Here you go. Boop. And they're made of plastic, and I don't know why that's so weird. Like in my brain, everything's all like steel and ceramic, and I was like, plastic. They have plastic factories in Arrakis.
And I guess if they're like, something that they kind of leave behind, they wouldn't want to waste their metals and stuff they use for other stuff that they keep.
That's true.
I was also thinking that maybe that was just because when Dune was written, plastic was like a newer element, and they're like, oh, that's the hot shit. Everyone's going to have that in the future.
Well, also they're able to make plastics out of spice, because that's what Jessica smells when they first reach the siege. Like Paul smells sweat and people, and she's thinking differently. She's like, is that explosives? Plastic. Interesting. So she breaks down everything they're using the spice to. So they're able to create a lot of shit out of it, not just eat it, consume it, and also the still suits are plastic. Most of the things that they need, like the tents and everything, are also plastic. This is more talking about worm stuff. So as long as the forward edge of a worm's ring segment was held open by a hook, open to admit abrasive sand into the more sensitive interior, the creature would not retreat beneath the desert. It would, in fact, roll its gigantic body to bring the open segment as far away from the desert surface as possible. And Paul keeps telling himself, I am a sand rider.
So, I can do this.
So the worms not have like a top and a bottom? They're just...
Yeah, I don't think so.
They're just circular.
Find yourself. This is like a big segmented worm. There's no top because there's no eyes. It's just a big mouth and a tube.
Okay. So when it basically you take it and it goes.
Yeah.
You can kind of see them do that in the movie, but they never explain it. Where they jam the thing into its side and they wrench it open, and then they just grab on. They're like, wee!
Presently, he saw the faraway outline of the creature's track against dawnlight, and realized he had never before seen a maker this large, never heard of one this size. It appeared to be more than half a league long, and the rise of the sand wave at its cresting head was like the approach of a mountain. This is nothing I have seen by vision or in life, Paul cautioned himself. He hurried across the path of the thing to take his stand, caught up entirely by the rushing needs of this moment. And that's where that chapter ends. And now we're all caught up.
And good time for Mezzy to go back to work.
Yay! Back to work.
And a league is 3.5 miles.
A big ass worm.
So yeah.
Maybe it could be that worm, but I feel like it's not that.
Cause that one looked like they were running away when in the trailer. So that does sound like that first one they see.
Yeah. I'm curious if it's gonna be like all one model of worm, or if they're gonna get all creative and make like maybe different scars or coloring or patterning or something on them.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about design.
That may be cool if, like, as the size went on, they looked slightly different because they grew different.
And Mezzi asks, 2 weeks again?
Yes. So next Dune book club will be 2 weeks from now. We're gonna read up to chapter 45. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting there, you guys. We're almost done. Because it'll be up to 45, and then we've got 3 more chapters left. And if we like, we can continue through to Dune Messiah and Children of Dune. Art looks thrilled.
No, I don't watch the movie though. I can't wait. I want to finish this book so that I can watch the movie.
Yeah.
The old movie.
I thought I was telling myself I would do a better job this time while reading to like track everything on the map and figure out where everybody is, and I haven't been doing that. I'm gonna like follow their plot path. But yeah, Alia's born. She crazy. Everyone's like, we should probably kill her. I just love that. That's the Fremen response. It's like, she should probably die. And that's one thing I feel like they nailed in the 80s movie, is how unsettling Alia is.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen it, it's creepy as fuck. It's super weird.
Oh, so I think I found out. I have an idea of what. Do you remember I telling you that a friend of mine made a suit for that Dune movie, and then I couldn't tell you which one it was because I haven't seen it. I think she might have made somebody's still suit, a woman's still suit that was thin, and they jump into something. In the movie. So I guess in the movie she made the suit, but then they wouldn't fit on the person that's supposed to do it. So she ended up wearing it. So the shot of the person jumping into something is her instead, because she was able to fit into the suit that she made. And
you know this person?
Yeah, it's Terry. What's her middle name? Terry Jackson. She's a Muppet performer, and she's also a Disney artist. She makes a bunch of like figurines and stuff for Disney.
I need a still suit art.
Well, she made it. I don't think she has it.
But she has the knowledge.
She does have the knowledge.
I need a still suit art. Hook it up.
She likes Disneyland. She likes being signed into Disneyland.
So she made the ones from the 80s movie.
Yeah, she made at least the one. She made one at least that I know of. Yeah, she's an artist. She's like a fabricator artist person.
Dude, I need it.
She makes a lot of cool stuff.
I'll take either model. I don't care. I'm not picky. I just want to still suit. And I want it to be installed with the camelback so I can actually drink from it. But I'm gonna need.
That'd be awesome.
You're just like, Danny's got that look. I need it.
Danny gets that look a lot.
That's true. I get excited about it.
He's really excited about things.
Well, I think that's
it.
Dune book. I would love a fully functional still suit. You shitting me? That would be great.
Awesome.
Yes, that's what you do in the still suit.
Yeah. I shit me.
Let's see.
Well,
right. Hey, Super Token is live.
Well, what timing? Well, let's go raid Super Token.
And then just so you guys know, in a little while, I don't know exactly what time, Amber's going to be streaming something. She's doing a little, I guess it's not a surprise streaming anymore because I just told you, but she's going to be streaming them.
Not raid then?
I mean, you can raid. They can always come back.
Okay.
They'll be
It's going to be a little while.
Yeah.
I have to finish setting up and stuff.
Yeah. Our next thing isn't till right? That's not for now. Never mind.
So tomorrow.
Yeah.
See you guys tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.